Hey, welcome back to my channel. This is Simply Haley here. Um, so it's been a long time coming. I know I alluded to in my car chat friends, coworkers are not friends video about the story of me being under spiritual attack. Um, I had previously recorded the video kind of where I go into that story time where I detail everything, and I deleted it. I don't know, I just didn't necessarily like, the video. I just didn't like the flow of it. So I really wanted to come back um, and really just do a proper video and kind of make some notes. And that way I can reference, some things and everything like that. So I'm in my house at my little office space area. So if you kind of see some little junk over here to the side, this is like my printer and my little stereo stuff. So, and my Nard at the Bar posters. Yeah. If you did not know, I'm also an independent author. I've written one book, Taming Armand, book one of the Coven Origin series, just a little bit of a shameless plug. So for this, not only do I want to tell the story, because I've been conflicted. I don't want to say conflicted. I want to say almost convicted to tell this story. And I've been trying to tell the story, get the story out for really over a year, probably almost 2 years. Probably actually over 2 years now. And I decided to actually stop listening to the devil, because the devil will put seeds of doubt in your mind, worry, anxiety. Oh my God, how are people going to feel about it? Should I put my business out there in the street? But you know what? Something came to me and it was like, this story may be something that somebody comes across out here in the YouTube sphere, and they may need to hear this story because they may be undergoing something similar or about to undergo something. And that way they can listen to your story and see the signs and go, yep, okay, yep, she or he is doing the same thing to me. They asking kind of the same questions. And once I get into the story time, you'll see what I mean by the specific questions that I was asking in order for this person to put me under spiritual attack. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Be forewarned, this is a long one. I just want to preface this by saying this video will deal with the topic of voodoo, hoodoo, root work, whatever you want to call it. So just be forewarned, if that's something or topics that kind of offend you or something you don't necessarily want to listen to or have any kind of dealings with or talking to, like I'm not going to be doing root work on the video, but I am going to be talking about it. I'm not going to go into specific details of what had to be done on my behalf, because genuinely, I don't know. I don't know that I was told a little bit and alluded to a few things, but I wasn't told everything. So that's just to kind of preface this video. So if this is something that really bothers you, you just like, I don't believe in it, Haley, you crazy, then please click off. But here we go. We'll get into the story time. So this happened around 2015. Well, actually, yes. Probably the middle part of 2015, toward the end of 2015. I had just graduated college the previous year in December of 2014. So prior to that, and names are changed in this story time. So every name that I call is not an actual person's name that I'm associated with for the story. I've changed names. So I met Amber, and if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my notes here. I met Amber, I want to say the latter part, actually the early part of 2014. This was my senior year, and things were kind of wrapping up for me. Like I was in my senior year of college, like I'm getting ready to graduate and so forth. And so I was in one of our science building. It's also kind of our main building. And so I was in there and I was meeting with, sometimes after class, like the group of friends that I kind of hung out with. Basically, I was part of a nerd herd. So they like to sit out there in like the lobby area at the tables, play Yu-Gi-Oh, play Dungeons and Dragons, play like I think it was Destiny or some other game. It's similar to Dungeons and Dragons, but it's like something a little different. And so a lot of time I just like to go to the cafeteria, grab something, eat, and come back, and I just like to sit and watch them play, right? And I had just ate, and I was coming back, and one of the guys, he was like, "Oh, Haley, I want you to meet Amber. I think y'all will get along." And let me tell you something. She didn't even speak. Just me coming into her presence, or when she walked up and came, and we were in each other's sphere. Oh my goodness. I instantly had I don't like this chick. I promise you, I can only count on one hand, and maybe not all 5 fingers, of the times that I have met people and I instantly did not like them. This was I had a visceral reaction. Remember, this is pre-COVID, so my face was not covered. So your girl emotions are very prevalent and easy to read on my face. So, and I kind of was like, "Oh, Haley, fix your face," and I kind of like smile because, this is in my head, but I just had that instant, I don't like this chick. And at this time, I wasn't big into believing in my intuition. I was still on the kick coming out of it. Still, even though I'm like over 3 years removed from high school, still thinking that it's something wrong with me. I'm unfriendable. So I need to just ignore this because it's just you. It's you. Or me, what I mean. Did not like her. So I'm like, that chick was weird. Introduced, we exchanged names. That was it. And after that, I went on somewhere else. And I think I went on to class or something. So a few days later, this is the weekend, I lived on campus. One thing I do, like Friday morning was kind of like the weekend for us. Not many classes were going on. If you had a class, it was something like, maybe that's the only time that professor was on site, or whatever. But I didn't have any classes. Like Thursday night, I was done with classes. So my weekend started Friday. So I, take my stuff, head down to the library. So I'm headed down to the library. She is in the lobby of like our, I guess you call it our administrative building, of the administrative building. It's because I cut through and go down, and she's sitting there. She's like reading a comic book. I think it was a Death Note. Death Note was hot at the time. So I walked by, went out, and I was like, now, you shouldn't be rude. Like, she's reading a comic book, so obviously she's one of them kind of girls. Maybe you can get along. And I'm basically talking myself out. Like, there's a whisper in me, like, don't fool with this girl. Just don't. Just go on about your business. But me, I had to stomp down that gut feeling, and I went back in and talked to her, and we end up sitting talking. Oh my goodness, like we talked for like 4 hours just sitting there. And I was like, and then once, we had parted for the day, I was like, dang, I didn't even go get a chance to study. I just went on back to my dorm room. And I'm going back up into my dorm room like, wow, Haley, you could have lost out on a friend all because you acting weird and stupid and just kind of writing people off. And you don't know, you might have found you a best friend. So granted, the months, and I'm kind of going to speed up a little bit. The months that she and I were friends and talking, and it was good. I mean, we had great conversation, very intellectual conversation, because it was so, let me tell you, we vibed so so I thought we were vibing. So to the point that we used to joke, girl, if one of us was a man, we would be married with 3.5 kids. Like, it was like that type of friendship. And so it came to the point, I actually one weekend invited her up to my dorm. I said, can you come up? So she comes in, and I'm kind of clearing stuff off. Actually, you know what? I did not I invited her up after she told me, hey, I'm on campus. I'm at the dorms. Which dorm are you in? You live on campus, right? And something, because I'm the type of person and have always been, I'm very reluctant just to let people in my space. Because I feel my thing is, this is where I lay my head. This is where I let my guard down. This is where I sleep. When we sleep, anybody sleeps, to me, we're open spiritually for attack. And that's going to play into the story when I get there. Hope, stay with me. So, she's like, yeah, I'm out in the dorm area. Which dorm are you in? The tower? I said, no, girl, I can't afford the tower, honey. I'm on scholarship. I'm like, oh, I'm in Poplar, the little side one. And something in my mind was like, girl, don't invite her up here. Just tell her you'll be down. Just go meet her. And I was like, no, you know what? Me and her cool. She cool. And I said, girl, I'll be outside, and then I'll show you that. And that way, come around, yada, 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 come up. I'm outside, so you'll see which building I'm at. She parked, came in, went up to my dorm. So I wasn't expecting company. So I'm like, hey, I didn't even have on a bra. Like, I wasn't expecting company. So I, stuff all over the bed, stuff in the chest. So I have my back turned. So she's standing on my side. And so I'm like, trying to like clean up my desk, and I'm moving stuff off the bed and just kind of piling it up on my desk, and my books and stuff. I got it in my little chair. So it's a daytime, so I didn't have the lights on. So all I know is two flashes. And I turned around confused, like, I said, did you just take a picture of me? And she just like, yes. And I was like, oh, and me not thinking that was weird. I turned around, excuse my stomach if you heard it. I turned around, and I'm just like, well, I'm like, girl, if you're going to take a picture of me, at least make it a good one. And I'm, gave a little funny pic, because I did not think anything of it. Okay. That's probably red flag number 3. The two prior to red flags, I feel like were on me, because I had that intuition, I had that gut instinct, and I ignored it. So I would take the L. All right, red flag. All right. So we sit, like, we listen to opera music, and we just talked, and she actually ended up falling asleep on my bed. Like, I have never allowed anybody in my space like that, right? So, gone. Okay, a couple of weeks later. All right. She and I ended up taking having a biology 2 lab together. And that was pretty good, because although we were sat at the same little lab station, we did not actually work together. I was on the team with another person. But I started noticing that some of her interactions with other people, to me, were a little off. She was not friendly. She was not. And me, I just chalked it up to being, girl, that's just her. She, she does different. She cool, though. I made excuses for her. All right. Everything was cool. We cool. So I didn't have a car, so I would just take the bus, or else I would little shuttle. I love to take the bus. So I took the bus over to Walmart. And she happened to be at Walmart. The same one that I was going to. Mind you, and I didn't mention this, but I feel like it needs to be mentioned. She did not stay on campus. She did not even she didn't even live in the vicinity of the college. She probably had about a 40-minute, trip to the college to go to classes. So she didn't have classes, I think, after Wednesday. So she really had no reason to be on that exit or there. And she wasn't coming to see me. It's not like we called each other and was like, oh, girl, I'm coming over there to see you. No. She just happened to be there. Like I said, now that I'm articulating the story, I almost feel like I was targeted. I do. I feel like I was targeted. So, and she, I was sitting, I had got my groceries and everything. So I'm sitting waiting for the bus to come. And she pulled up. She was like, well, you want me to just go and take you back to campus? I'm like, yeah, if you don't mind. I'm like, I don't mind riding the bus. It's not a big deal to me. And she's like, no, I'll take you back. So I got in the car, put my groceries in, got in the car. And she was like, I just want to let you know, I listen to jazz, don't touch my radio. And I thought that was a little odd. Excuse me. But I'm like, I said, it's your car. Whatever you want to listen to, I don't have a choice. I'm not going to touch your radio. I said, I'm not one of those people. Still, didn't think much of it. All right. Drop me off. Okay. Now, fast forward a little bit because there wasn't too much strange pre-graduation for me. So that December, I ended up graduating. And, she was at the graduation. She cried and she had bought me a Slytherin skull cap. All right. So said our goodbyes. So now I'm back in Birmingham. And I mean, we were talking on the phone almost every day for a couple of hours. I'm talking about 3-4 hours, talking about anything and everything. And so she actually ended up doing a program, or so she said, it could have been a lie, and going to Seattle. And, she just she would call and be telling me about, she was the only black, like, in this group of white people. And she was telling me about, how they was almost like the woke liberal types, but they were kind of a bit prejudiced at the same time. And so she would just call in detailing all that, and she ended up leaving the program. Now, the issue with, it seemed like everywhere she went, she could never get along with anybody. I don't care who they were. Black, white, Puerto Ricans, Asians. It's like she could never get along with anybody. So, I noticed when we would talk on the phone, and I would say now we're back about, in the beginning, I want to say of 2016, her tone started to change. She started to get short with me at times on the phone. Very clipped, like I'd say something and she kind of like snapped, till it was like, what, because I remember one conversation and I don't recall what we were talking about per se. And I mean, she just kind of like snapped at me. And I was like, what? I said, I'll call you later because you seem like you in a mood. So we'll just talk later. And we hung up. Okay. Roll on a little bit. So now she's calling, but she's asking questions. One question in particular she asked me, and I don't know why I did not think this was a red flag, because I think I was in here like cleaning up or something. She called, hey, what time do you go to bed? Like, that's an odd question. I was like, well, I go to bed at, and I'll just use 6 o'clock for an example. I don't go to bed at 6 o'clock. I said, I go to bed at 6 o'clock. And and hear my dumb self. Oh, yeah, and it takes me about 30 minutes to fall asleep. And, I'm thinking maybe she's going to tell me her time, or I don't know what I was expecting. But her next statement is, okay, thank you, bye, click. And I kind of looked at the phone like, okay, that was odd, and hung up. And it didn't click in my mind, dummy. No, I don't know too many people who ask each other, when do you go to bed, unless they're asking to call or come pick you up or something. It's something a little deeper than that, right? But put a pin on that, in that, because that's important. So she started asking questions. At the time I had my cat Babe. Babe was a jet black cat, a solid black. Babe has since passed. She passed away last year. And she was like, your cat, what does your cat look like? I was like, she's a solid, like she's a jet black cat. Like a cat. Okay, you ought to send me a picture of her. At the time, I didn't have, I'm trying to think, I had like a one of those little prepaid little cell phones. It wasn't an iPhone, so the picture resolution wasn't that good. And really, honestly, for some reason, and I have to give credit to God, because I believe it was God, in a sense, hardening my heart against her, so that way it could be a pulling away before I got in too deep. So I was annoyed, and I don't necessarily know why, but I was annoyed, and I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. I was like, and I think Babe was under something, and I was in a mood, so I wasn't trying to go find the cat to take a picture of. I said, oh, okay, I'll send you one later. And she ended up later, after we got off the phone, probably about maybe an hour later, she sent me a picture of an orange cat and said, oh, does she look like this? And I'm just like, and I'm saying this to myself. I'm like, girl, didn't I just tell you it was a solid black cat? And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even finna respond to this for real. I just put, yeah, that's it. So, and I'm trying to think, what else did she ask me? Because we shared so much over the phone, and retelling the story, it was almost like it was a information session for her. So I started noticing things. So it was one day, it was like a weekend, I believe, because my stepdad was off work. And he would sit at the table on his iPad, and I was on the other, across from him, doing something. I don't know if I was drawing or coloring or something. And it's like I felt like the hairs at the nape of my neck stood up, and I got like a chill. It's like I could feel the presence of something next to me. When I retold this to my friend, my mother's friend, Sherry, I'm gonna call her Sherry, that's not her real name. And, and it was like, oh, something was leaving me. But no, it actually felt like something was trying to enter me. So I was like, ooh, what is that? So I'm like, ooh, okay, that was weird. And I thought maybe it was a relative of mine that had passed a long time ago. So, okay. Now, probably a day or two later, my brother was on the couch, and he was watching, I think, one of the Fast and the Furious, but it was one of the older ones. And I came into the room. He was not, in my brother's defense, he was not doing anything to me. He wasn't even looking at me. He's looking at the TV. I literally came in. I asked him a question. He responded, oh, I think he said it was the second one, Tokyo Drift or something. Don't you know, it's like something came over me, and I just snapped and like started screaming at him. Because he was sitting like this, leaned back on the couch, and he just sat up and he started screaming at me. Quite naturally. Somebody comes in out of a room and starts screaming at you like they're psychotic. You're going to respond. So my mother had pulled in under our car porch, and we went outside screaming and yelling back and forth. My mama got out the car and was like, what in the hell is going on? And it was like, she started it. She came in there screaming at me. And my mom was like, Haley, you need to calm down and go in the room and sit down. So at this time, I did not put two and two together. By this time that I felt the presence of whatever entity this was, or spirit this was, Amber had completely stopped calling. She was not calling me at all. She was not answering my calls, because I had called and it was like, girl, you hadn't called me. What's up? I had texted her, no response to my text. Okay. So after that, then it started with the dreams. So the first one I actually had fell asleep during the day, because I think I sat up all night watching something. And I was in my room, sleep. It was daytime. My mother, I believe, was out on the porch on the phone with Sherry. The dream was I was being choked, like I was being smothered. And I kept saying, Jesus was like the only thing I could say was Jesus, Jesus. I kept calling on Jesus. And it's like the more I called on Jesus, the pressure on my neck increased. It was like something was trying to choke me out. And I woke up from that like, dang, that was weird. I told you I'm still naive. I'm still not putting nothing together. I ain't putting nothing together. All right. At this point, I haven't even told my mother at this point. So she was on the porch. I just kind of got up. I didn't really think about it. All right. Now, a day or two later, maybe a week later, it wasn't even a week, it was a little less than a week, I am asleep once again, but it's it's during the day. And at this time, it's like I'm between being awake and not awake. And here's the thing, it's not, I was laying on the bed, kind of just up against the headboard because I had like nodded off. I wasn't like in a deep sleep. And it was like I was walking into, like I had took the place of the spirit or whatever the spirit. And I was walking in the room toward me. It was weird. I was coming toward me, or I had the viewpoint of this spirit coming toward me. And it was like they were reaching around me. I don't know what they were doing, but it's like I got punched in the face. Like I could feel being punched in the face. And it didn't hurt like how if a real human being punched me in the face, but I felt it. And I kind of woke up from it. My mother was on the porch because she would go out there and talk to, because her and Sherry, baby, they get live when they used to talk on the phone. So I got up and went out there on the porch. I'm standing up there. I'm like, hey, my mom was like, hey, tell Sherry, hey. And I'm like, hey, Sherry. And I'm like, I just had the weirdest dream. And I told her about the dream. I was telling it to my mama, and my mama was relaying it through, to Sherry. And my mom was like, hold on, Hayla, you just tell her. So I was talking and telling Sherry, and I told her about the previous dream I had where I was being choked and the one with the being punched in the face. And Sherry was like, Hayla, why didn't you tell me this sooner? Like, she is on the phone really concerned. Like I said before, Sherry was a priestess, studying to be a priestess. I had just completed her priestessship. I don't know what you call it, apprenticeship. So she was like, why didn't you tell me this sooner? Like, she's saying it, and I can't even say it how the tone of voice she said it, because she's saying it with a sense of urgency. Like, why didn't you tell me this when you first had this? So, okay. Get a phone back to mom, and I'm like, dang, I wonder what's going on. I go back in the house. All right. It wasn't even a couple of days later, probably a day or so later. My stepdad was at work. My mom was in her room. She called me in the room. She was like, Haley, did you have any sexual contact with this girl? And I'm like, no, I didn't. Why? I'm like, why would you even ask that? She was like, she said no. Like, my mama's asking me questions and she's relaying my answer to Sherry on the other side. And what they had done was Sherry had actually went and did a little, I'll call it research, for lack of a better word. And the work had showed some things about Amber. I keep looking because I get that. I keep forgetting. Some things about Amber. And so what she had done, Amber, was she had sent a spirit after me. Because let me tell you this. I had another dream about this spirit. And God revealed to me this man whom she had sent after me to basically torture me. And to be honest with you, I think to an extent, I think my life was in jeopardy, because one of the last dream that I had pertaining to this, I saw the man. I saw what kind of vehicle he drove, because the man is dead. I saw him just as clear as day, almost like I was watching a film, and he was chasing me. Like I was running from him. Like I couldn't tell if he was behind me, but I knew he was closing in on me, and I was running. And I hid behind a house, and I laid down, and behind me was this bright light. And I wasn't as I was now, like I'm a plus size woman. Like I was skinny. Like I feel like I almost want to say I saw my glorified body. And it was just a bright light behind me, but I knew not to turn around, because I just kind of looked like I know it's something behind me, and I wasn't afraid, but I saw this light. I don't say I want to say I felt a presence or anything, but I saw all this bright beautifulness behind me. And later, when I asked my mom, when we were coming, toward the end of the saga and all the work they had to do, that Sherry did on my behalf, wherever she is, God bless her. I asked my mom, was she trying, Amber, was she trying to kill me? And my mother never really gave me an answer. She just was like, just be thankful, that Sherry came into our lives, and just be really thankful, yada, yada, yada. Like I said, I'm paraphrasing things, and I'm purposely leaving certain things out, because I don't even want to give away clues of what they had to do. And I'm not even really going to give clues away as to what the work showed that Amber did. But yeah, and it got to the point, the spirit that she sent toward us, Amber did, or really toward me, that energy had the house off. It had the house bad. Like my stepfather was catching some of it, and he had hell in him. My brother was catching it. The only person who I think really didn't catch it, or maybe because she knew more of what was going on, was my mom. But that spirit had the house bad. So it's like, in a sense, my failure to have discernment, or to actually pay attention to the little bit of discernment that I had, threw off the energetic balance in my whole house for everybody. And the things that happened after that, I'm kind of wondering, is that the rippling effect of that incident, did that have ripple effects? I don't know. I can't speak to that. But even my cat, she had attacked the cat. The spirit had attacked the cat in a way, and I had to, because the cat got into something that normally, because Babe was the type of cat, rest her little soul, she was the type of cat, I didn't have to worry about Babe chewing up cords, getting, like, I could leave a thing or something, just say, and I don't do this, please don't take it like I'm leaving dangerous chemicals around for my cats. I'm not. I'm just illustrating. If I left like a thing or something, like a Clorox open, Babe is not going to go sniff it. Like, she was not that type of cat. It's like, how in the hell did she get into that? And we had to rush my cat to the emergency room, to the veterinary emergency, like way out there on like 280, like out in Brookwood. You know what I'm saying? In the middle, like it's 11 o'clock at night. And we jumping in the car like, oh, I got the babe wrapped up in a towel, honey, and we busting it down 65. So I I say all of that and I illustrate that story to hammer home the point that when you get an inkling about, it ain't even got to be a visceral feeling, because I'm telling you, when I first walked into Amber's presence, when she came close and he introducing us, like I stopped, like my body just stopped, like it was almost like it was a force field up. I'm telling you, even if it's not something that strong where you're like jarred, any inkling, any doubt, please pay attention to it. Pay attention to the things that people are asking you, and don't be so quick to answer. Like now, when people ask me questions, I pause and think, what are they asking me? Especially if it's something personal. Now, if you ask me the time, you know how to discern. I feel like I don't have to go through all kind of nuanced examples. You know, when people are asking you things that are personal, and or not necessarily personal, because I don't necessarily think what time do you go to bed is personal, but look at the context. You know, what are we talking about, and why would they ask this? This doesn't even pertain to what we're talking about. You know, or they call out the blue and ask you something that's personal, or ask you your habits. Why are you asking that? And if they're stuttering and can't give you an answer, then you need to end that call, or walk away, or deflect if you can't necessarily walk away, or if you're out to lunch or something, you can't just pop up. You can, but I understand social etiquette is really something that's really beaten into us and the humans. So I get it. I would say listen to your first mind, because a lot of time the spirit knows. The spirit knows. Even though the mind may not be, logic may not understand why you're feeling this way about a person, but your spirit knows that this person ain't from diddly squat. So I would, yeah. I think that's it. Or that is it for now. Let me know if you want. I do have a few other story times. Not anything I want to say as dramatic as that, but just moments and interactions that I've been experiences that I've been through, especially as a Black heavyset woman. 98% of the time I wear my hair in its 4C shrunken state, in a little afro. And so I just kind of did this. This was just a little something. I mean, these may be coming out in a week or so. I just did these like yesterday. And I want to use the experiences and things that I've been through really as teaching tools, as moments of reflection, to take bits and pieces and, where you could use them to apply to situations you've gone through, or when you go through a situation or met with a situation, be like, hey, I saw a video on that, and this girl went through that, and this is I see it's kind of playing out like what I'm going through, or it may play out like that, so let me do this. But yeah, my biggest takeaway from this, is when your doubt means don't. Your first mind, a lot of times, especially when it comes to people you're meeting, is your right mind. That's correct. And it's your job not to beat that down and ignore that. 2, you need to have a strong sense of self. During this, or when she and I first became acquainted and doing the friendship, you know, as I look back, because I've looked back quite a bit, the flags were there. I chose to ignore them for the sake of, oh, I finally got a best friend, or an adult best friend, because I had a best friend in high school. You know, I'm friendable. I'm not unfriendable, and like I said, that also played into a lot of what I encountered, or I let happen around me, or I participated in, um, what I tolerated when I was first got into the corporate space, because I tolerated things, I overshared things that you would think from learning, you would have thought from this incident, I would have been a little bit more fortified in myself, but I was not. Um, this that incident really shook me, and I don't people don't understand it. Like I said, I talked to my mother a little bit after it happened, but I didn't want to talk about it. And I think maybe in the recent years, because like I said, this all came to a really a head in the middle of 2016, kind of toward the summer of 2016, where I think I'm just now 8 years later, I'm actually going through a grieving process. I don't know if I'm necessarily grieving her and what I thought we had, or if I'm grieving what I imagined, and I guess that's the same thing as thought, that we had. Because I genuinely thought I had a best friend, somebody who was going to be in my life for a long time. And turns out it was, I had let a snake in my garden. But like I said, this video is quite lengthy. I'm gonna try to do my best to edit it down. But thank you so much. I looked yesterday and saw that I had 8 subscribers. I'm so thankful to God for you all, because when I first started this channel, I'm like, honey, I don't think nobody gonna want to listen to what I got to say. But you know what? I'm gonna keep moving. But you know what? That is the seeds of the devil, and we gonna bind that up. And thank you so much. I love all of you to life. All right, so I'm gonna back up just a little bit, because really before Amber really stopped all contact, or I stopped all contact with her, her calls were like few and far between. And then when she called, like I said, now looking back, it's like she was calling to get a progress report, I think, on the work that they were doing, or that she was having done. I don't know if she was doing it herself, or if she had someone doing it on her behalf. Because what I was told from what the work showed, is that she went to this person, or went somewhere to a root worker, and basically lied on me, saying that I was like attacking her, doing something to her, and she wanted this work done in retaliation to me. And what I was told, kind of Sherry made it sound like her end game was she wanted me to like move out, or wanted to destroy the relationship that I had with my mother and my stepfather. And my whole thing was, you know, I really loved you and I really trusted you as my friend. So my thing was like, hell, if she wanted us to get an apartment together, move in together, all she had to do was ask. I don't know what happened to asking people, but that's neither here nor there. But anyway, prior to kind of no contact, because I stated that she stopped calling, the calls were few and far between. And at one point, I was actually told by Sherry to stop all contact. So I think I am the one that stopped contact, but her calls were still very few, far between. It was real. And when she was calling, it was more so to, I think, get a status update. Although at the time, I didn't know what I didn't know it, I was given a status update, I guess, on the progression of her work. So one of the things that happened was I was on the couch one night, um, chilling, and I was eating peppermint. And so I was, watching some. So I was just throwing the wrappers on the floor. So I had a pair of shoes. They were actually just like ballet flats, and I was just using them. It kind of just old, and I was just using them to walk around the house in, and because I also use them like to clean in. And so commercial. So I got up, stuck my feet in the ballet flats, went in the kitchen, and in my right shoe, I'll never forget this, I felt something like, I'm like, dang, I got one of these dang wrappers in my in the shoe. So I took my shoe off, took it, turned it upside down, and banged it against the floor. And I don't know why I did that. I could have simply just flipped it over, but I flipped it and banged it. And out falls this big spider. I'm gonna try to insert a picture of it. Talk about somebody who was really taken aback. I was really taken aback. Like, I was just standing there looking at it, doing like, wait a minute, is that a freaking spider? Like, I'm looking at this thing like, this can't be real. This can't be real. And it finally clicked, kill it before it runs underneath the stove somewhere. Because if this thing gets loose in the house, I might have to get up out of here, right? So I took the shoe and killed it. And it balled up, and I was still standing there. My stepdad actually came out the room. He was coming in the kitchen to get something. And I was just standing there looking at it like, and I told him, I said, there was a spider in my shoe. He was like, oh, did it bite you? I said, no, I said, it was big. I said, it was a spider in my shoe. Like, I didn't get it. I couldn't comprehend. So I believe it was like the next day, Amber calls. And I'm telling Amber about the spider in my shoe last night. Don't you know it was dead silence on the phone? It was so quiet on the phone. I actually thought she had hung up. It was so quiet. It was, how when people are telling you a story and you just kind of in the story, you may be, oh, dang, like, oh my God, like you have some type of reaction, even if it's just a grunt. It was no reaction. It was dead silence. I'm still not, it still ain't clicking for Haley. Still ain't clicking. All right. Okay. So we hang up from that conversation. She didn't say much. I was the end of that conversation. Now, one thing I wanted to come back to was the question of what time do you go to bed? That's important because the spirit that she sent to me, the times that the spirit was active was the times that I told her that I went to bed. Yes. So during that hour that I went to bed, or the time frame that I gave her was the time frame that the spirit would come. It would come during a specific time frame. Now, when it initially had come during like the day, and I had those day interactions, those were that was like the only two, like the two dreams, you want to call them that, and then the one where it came to me in the kitchen, and when it kind of, I say four, when it entered me and my brother got into it. After that, that was it in terms of it coming in the day. After that, it strictly came to me at night between these specific hours. And it's more so like it came during those specific hours. Like I gave the example of, I go to bed at 6 o'clock. It didn't come at 6 o'clock. It may come about 7:30. It may come 8. It may come 9. Just to more so give me like a period of she falls asleep and she's asleep and she's susceptible in these hours. So this is when it's coming. Don't you know it had got so bad to the point where I did not go to sleep at night? I'm serious. I would sit up all night long, and I would do little cat naps during the day. Like I did not go to bed because I'm gonna just be honest with you. I was afraid. And when the spirit did come to me, it was almost like, especially when I was asleep, it was like I was being body slammed. It was like my spirit, my soul was being body slammed in my body. It was like I was being jarred out of sleep violently. And it was like I could see it coming. When the presence of that spirit like crossed the threshold in my room, it was almost like my spirit was awake too, and it could see it coming. And it wasn't like necessarily I'm looking at somebody coming toward me. I had the point of view of the spirit coming to me to, like, basically is, and I'm telling you, it's like it reached around me, and like how you pick somebody up and like suplex them. Like that's what it felt like. Like that was the experience of it. And so like I said, that it got it got bad, and it got weird, and it got creepy. And so that's the point I wanted to, that's like the little thing that I left off. So this is post editing Haley, and I just wanted to throw that in there real quick. But thank you guys so much for hanging with me, bearing with me. And I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.